Hello, hockey fans. The Hardcore Puckhead is back with this preview of the NHL's Pacific Division, the last of the four divisions remaining. Well, the Pacific Division was quite telling. For starters, the local teams out here, the Ducks and the Kings, plummeted. Two worst teams in the conference. I couldn't believe such a thing happened to two teams who are usually in the playoffs together every year. But I should have known the bottom would fall out after the 2018 playoffs. Both the Ducks and the Kings made it, but not only were they swept, they forgot where the net was. Um, the Kings had the indignity of being the first team to lose a postseason series to the then expansion Vegas Golden Knights. Uh, and the Kings only scored, and this is despite the Kings only giving up 7 goals total that series. LA only scored 3 of their own. Got shut out twice in games 1 and 4. That was in 18. The Ducks scored 4 goals in 4 games and got blown out of the water in game 3. So it's just terrible. But they took a big hit after that, and now the Ducks and the Kings just fell out. So where do they go? Speaking of Vegas, of course, their first season was a historic one. They went to the Stanley Cup Final and they won a Stanley Cup Final game. But they suffered a bit of a sophomore slump. They failed to win the division, but they did make the playoffs. However, we all saw it. That great series against San Jose, they had the Sharks dead to rights, but they lost games 5 and 6, but were up big in game 7. Then they committed that dumb penalty and gave up 4 goals in a 5-minute major. Yet that's somehow the officials' fault. Okay. They ended up losing that game in overtime, by the way, in that game 7. So that was their first failure in their franchise history. As for the Sharks had another impressive run, which ended with more disappointment. It also involved some controversy because it seemed like the Sharks were on the receiving end of were the beneficiaries of controversial calls throughout their playoff run. Um, the worst one being that overtime win in the conference final, a hand pass which was blatant and obvious, but it was never called, led to an overtime goal in Game 3. Now the Sharks won that game to go up 2-1. They wouldn't win another win. So the Sharks continue to underachieve. It's amazing. The Sharks when they went to the final in 2016, they had more success than Washington and the Blues. That is no longer the case. Now both of them are more successful than San Jose. San Jose still does not have a cup and only has that one appearance in 2016. Um, but let's talk about the biggest disappointment for the Pacific Division last year. The Calgary Flames kind of shocked people. They ended up not only winning the division behind guys like Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk, but they won. They ended up winning the best record in the Western Conference. But what did they do to it? What did they do with it? Well, They won game 1 against the Avalanche, and that was it. That was it. Blew a late lead in game 2, leading to an overtime loss. Got shelled in game 3. Had a 2-0 lead late and lost it, leading to another overtime loss. And when they returned home, they were just destroyed. Where was Johnny Hockey? That's a good question. Where was Johnny Hockey? Missing goals and bitching to referees the whole series. Even a penalty shot, he missed that. He had 1 assist that entire series. Um, but now let's get to what could be the most improved team in the Pacific Division, Arizona. The Coyotes were this close to making the playoffs last year. They were right there. They made it to that final Thursday of the season, April 4th. They made it that far, but they missed out by a hair. So what did they do? Why, they went big in the offseason, I guess. It looks like. Traded for Carl Soderberg. I'm gonna miss him. Hell of a player. Traded for Carl Soderberg. Ended up with Phil Kessel. Phil Kessel is in Arizona. A Stanley Cup champion is with the Coyotes. Oh my God. The Arizona means business. They really do. The Coyotes mean business. They were this close with the core they had. Now they got some key pieces. They're not going to be this close. They're going to be in. And of course, Edmonton. The less said about the Oilers, the better. But I will say this: Connor McDavid. They better cater to him and get him some talent around him. Get some talent around him. Because a player like that is going to want to play in April and May more often. His only playoff experience came in 2017 when the Oilers ended that jinx, ended that drought. They had the longest. They at the time had the longest current drought in the league until they made the playoffs in 2017. That was their first appearance since they fell one win short of the Stanley Cup in 2006. And they made it. They actually won a series against San Jose and lost in 7 to the Ducks. A year later, nowhere close. And Connor McDavid, who is usually quiet and soft-spoken, he is pissed. He's regarded as one of the best players in the league now. A lot of people say he's the next Crosby. He's up there in that group of Crosby, Ovechkin, and McKinnon, and all of them. A player like that needs more playoff exposure. Nathan McKinnon is getting some playoff exposure finally. He's been in the playoffs 3 times and counting, because Colorado's going to be there every year with that core. Edmonton, that baffles me. Edmonton actually has a good bit of players. They got Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. They have Milan. Well, I think Lucic isn't there anymore, but they had him last year. But I think they did an in-provincial trade with the Flames. But they got Leon Draisaitl, big goal scorer. They got a good crop, but they just need more around them. Connor wants more playoffs, and if he's not going to get that, he's going to go somewhere else where he knows he's going to get that, and possibly that big-ass cup, too. So, don't turn your star player into a cup chaser. Make him happy. Make him happy. Get him some good players, and win enough games to become part of the NHL Sweet 16. This leads me to the 3 burning questions regarding the Pacific Division. Number 1, well, I kind of answered already. Number 1, will Arizona be in the playoffs? Yes. But I will save my exact prediction for Arizona for next week. But Arizona's going to the playoffs. They almost made it with the team they had last year. Now it's that team plus Kessel and Soderberg. They're going. Question is, how far will they go? The Coyotes are kind of a hard luck team. They've never, not only have they never won a cup, but they've only been to the Final Four once in their existence. So yeah, the Coyotes, they're definitely gonna be one of the Sweet 16 in the NHL. Number 2, what's next for San Jose? And that's a big question because they lost quite a few key players. Joe Pavelski, gone to Dallas. Jonas Donskoy, gone to Colorado. Joe Thornton's sticking around for another year. They still have Brent Burns and Logan Couture. Couture is now one of my favorite players because I played fantasy hockey last year, and I still think when I traded to get Couture, that got me my fantasy hockey championship. And I'm gonna repeat this year, but Couture was pretty much the only shark that really showed up in the playoffs last year. Him and Martin Jones. That's about it. But they still have a good core. Question is, what's next for them? I mean, are they no longer going to go deep in the playoffs anymore? Because they lost some core players. Joe Pavelski was pretty key. He was pretty key. That's why That's why Sharks Nation kind of their heart sank when he got injured uh, entering round 2 against the Avalanche. But but yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where the Sharks go. And the number 3 question: how will the SoCal teams do? I mean, I honestly don't know that. I actually can't give you the answer to that question because I haven't really heard much as far as significant changes regarding the Ducks and the Kings. Uh, I have no idea what the Ducks' problem is, but the Kings' problem is they got a lot of old players and they're tying them down. And it still baffles me that the Kings and Ducks did so poorly last year. Kings had the worst record in the Western Conference. I think the only team that was worse than them in the entire league was Ottawa. But yeah. So I don't know what to expect from Anaheim and LA this year, but this season will be pretty interesting. And next week I will give my full playoff predictions. Who will get in? Who won't make it? Who will be in the top 3 in their respective divisions? What playoff teams will last year will miss out? Stay tuned next week. Until then, hockey fans.